Hello everyone, and welcome to the first of my end of year videos. This has been an interesting year for me. I finished up school, started working full time, so I feel like a real adult now. And there is even that one incident that involved bags of money from the Federal Reserve and me spending time in the same room as people from the FBI, CIA, and NSA. But you come to my channel for videos about anime, not my boring life, so let's just move on to that. If you were here last year, you may remember that I counted down the anime that I completed, and this year I'm doing something very similar. I'm making 2 videos counting down the best and the worst of the year. Basically what I'm doing is I'm taking all the anime I completed this year, splitting them in half, and then putting one half in a top list and one half in a worst list. And this video is the top list. I figured doing a giant list wouldn't really work because, well, it would be giant and it doesn't feel right to have some of these really bad anime on a top list, so yeah, I'm going to go with this one. Anyway, let me just go over some quick ground rules and then we will get on to the list. First of all, this list is based off my own personal tastes. We all come to anime for different things and judge shows differently, so my list will likely be different from yours in at least some ways. In the short time I have for each show, I hope to explain why I feel the way I do so you know where I'm coming from, but please feel free to disagree, make your own list, complain in the comments, whatever. Secondly, these lists encompass all the anime from this year that I completed. So if you want to know why an anime isn't on this list, it's either A, not from this year, or B, I have not finished it because I dropped it, put it on hold, never got to it, never was interested, etc. This also means that shows that have an unaired core are ineligible for this list, hence why Gate, Durara, and Haikyuu are not on here along with some others I didn't write down. I am going to still count shows with another season airing later as eligible though, and also for shows that ended this year but started like last year or something, I'm considering the show as a whole, not just the parts that aired this year because I intentionally left them off last year's list so they could be included here. I think that is everything. If you're confused about any of this, just ask in the comments and I will explain it as best I can or confuse you more depending on how sarcastic you are. So I think that's everything, so off to the list where I'm sure you'll question my taste and want to call me a tasteless casual or something. Oh well. Starting off this list, we have Yamada-kun and the 7 Witches. This is the first and in my opinion worst of the 3 romances from this year that I watched. It is also the one with the most substance to the story, which is both its biggest strength and its biggest weakness. This story starts with Yamada switching bodies with Shiraishi, and then he has to deal with this. But in the process of doing so, they start growing closer together and we see the love between them start to bloom. The story then expands to the other girls and the problems that they face, and while many of these stories are interesting, there are too many characters to have the story really told in the 12 episodes that the show has. I am thankful that they didn't focus too much on all the romance possibilities, as this would have been way too much plot to cover, and the comedy was pretty good throughout the show, but they could have done so much better if they gave the stories of the individual girls more time, or maybe even cut a couple of them so the rest could shine more. Still, this is a decent romance, but I think its problems of rushing too many things make it so I shouldn't put it higher on the list. Sometimes all it takes to make an old cliche work is to add a couple small twists to it, and that's what Monogatari does. While in many ways it is a typical cute romance story, it does enough things differently to make things interesting, such as having Takeo and Yamato get together near the beginning of the series and giving Takeo's best friend Suna a big role throughout the series. It is true that some of the arcs can be considered boring and predictable at times, but others were quite gripping. Takeo's personality really helped sell this show, and the focus on his friendship with Suna was great to see. I can't say that this was my favorite romance, but at least I admire how it does things differently, and I would say it mostly succeeded with what it set out to do, so yeah, that's something. Next we have something completely different, Show by Rock. It's a show that I wasn't really sure what to expect going into it. I can best describe it as a cross between a music idol show and a lighthearted adventure with lots of pretty colors. I do like how they would blend the 2 different genres together, the music and adventure, because this is a world where music is power and used to fight off the evil. In many ways, this show is about style more than substance, and I think that is okay, but there is enough suspense with the plot to keep me interested, and the fact that this is a world where music is power and used to fight evil gave the music part of the show some more weight. I can't say the story is really anything amazing, as it is relatively simple, and there are some things that I didn't like near the end, but still, this was an enjoyable show. And next we have Actually I Am, which is a show that I nearly dropped halfway into the first episode, and I'm glad I stuck with it. This premise here is nothing out of the ordinary, especially if you've been around anime for any time at all. It's a harem with a largely normal nice guy, with all the girls being some type of supernatural creature such as alien, vampire, werewolf, or demon. There are 2 things that this anime does right which made me really like it. But first we have its absurd comedy, which I really like. There are so many funny scenes spread throughout the show that had me just laughing at their absurdness. And the second thing that I liked about it were the cute moments we had here between Kurumi and Shiragami. The bond between them as friends was great, and this made me want to see them become a couple. Though I have to say I am mad at the ending of the show, or lack thereof, It's not even like it would be that hard to close it out where it was. They had wrapped up most of the plot points, just one scene to close it out, and it would have been a wonderful ending. And that would have left me completely satisfied, but no, that did not happen. Still, this is my favorite romance of the year because it really set out to do what I intended to do with a cute, lighthearted show and off-the-wall humor, and I can't ask for much more. Though a few more explosions might have been nice. And now we have Gakkou Gurashi or Seyuu Life. This one is hard for me to talk about because getting into any detail at all would involve spoilers. So what I will say is that on the surface, this appears to be a traditional moe slice of life. However, this shows both what it appears to be, but also something different at the same time. Its different type of storytelling is polarizing, some people loving it while others hating it, but it's one that I end up really enjoying, partly because of this uniqueness. It may feel slow-paced for some people, and the serious parts of the story do leave some key details unexplained, but still, this was a show I really liked. And yeah, that's all I can say without spoiling it. Go check out my review or the first couple episodes or whatever if you want to learn more. And now we have what is probably one of the most hyped shows from the past couple of years, which is Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works. This is one of the shows where I can be watching and think it is awesome and terrible at the same time. I have said many times that I am a fan of action shonen, and this is basically what I got here. I just love seeing the different clashes of ideals, the epic battles, and the noble but weak hero against an impossibly strong villain, and this show knows how to appeal to that side of me. The idealistic Shiro is a character that some people love and others hate, and while I can see while people will see him as dumb or cliche, I really wanted to root for him, and the way he was forced to see where his dreams of being a hero would end up being really fascinating. This only added to the very exciting, suspenseful story that was brought to life with some breathtaking visuals and great soundtrack. Yes, this show does have its fair share of flaws. I talk about them in my reviews, such as pointless slice of life things, magic not really making sense, battles being interrupted by dialogue, among with many other things. But for me anyway, these things didn't really matter in the good parts of the show, and that's why I included so high on this list. And now we have Assassination Classroom. One of the things that I love about anime is how they can talk about simple things in absurd ways. The first thing that got me hooked on the show was its over-the-top comedy, which is my favorite type of comedy. But what really got me interested is how it looked at these students who had been rejected by society in many ways and cast aside as failures in one way or another. When Kuro-sensei comes and they are tasked with killing him, they are challenged by a teacher who believes in them and gives them an impossible task while all the while encouraging them to overcome this challenge. Unfortunately, the show does end up spending a lot of time on episodic stories that really don't do much to advance the plot other than fleshing out some characters that really don't matter that much in the end. The show also seemed to be tossing in new characters in the story when it already had too many. Once the episodic nature of the show faded away, it ended up becoming a more serious and exciting story. It changed into a comedy, into more of an adventure and suspense story, culminating in some fascinating character developments for Nagisa and Karma. Unfortunately, this arc also had its share of flaws if you start thinking about it too much, so as much as I like the show and what it's trying to do, I can't put it any higher on the list. Still, I am really looking forward to Season 2, especially if they can keep making the show more serious, as it looks like that's what they're going to do from what I've read about the manga. And next we have Arslan Senki, a show which tells the story of a young and naive Prince Arslan. He's instructed to take to the field of battle during a battle where victory seems certain for his kingdom of Pars. However, due to betrayal and the tactics of their foes, Pars loses the battle, and while Arslan is able to escape with his life, much of the kingdom soon falls. The story of the anime is mainly about Arslan's journey, first in just escaping the attempts on his life, but then on raising an army to retake the kingdom. This is a good adventure show, and also a great coming-of-age story for Arslan as his innocent views of the world are challenged. He has a good heart and wants to be a kind ruler, but things are never that simple. Beyond just the exciting adventure, the show also explores themes about what it means to be a good ruler, along with how good religious teachings can then be twisted to lead people to do horrible things, something that is sadly applicable to today's world. The show does suffer some with the plot armor for the main characters and lack of development for many of the side characters. They also never explain how magic works in this world, even though it has played a role several times throughout the story. I'm hoping that these things are fixed in a second season, whenever that is, hopefully in just a few months. So as we approach this top of the list, and I've talked about lots of epic shows like with aliens and zombies and the Holy Grail War, can you just imagine what show could come next? Well, here it is. Seyuu Life. Yes, a slice of life. I have mentioned before that there are some shows where I had low expectations and ended up being pleasantly surprised, and this is the biggest example of that from this year. This show is mostly straightforward. It's about 3 young voice actresses making their way through the industry. It served as a good lens into how the industry works, illustrating the different parts of voice acting, starting with anime, but they also expanded this to dubbing foreign films and video games, along with several other things. There is a good deal of comedy here, which made the show just a lot of fun to watch. but there's also a good amount of drama as these characters had to face the challenges that following their dreams brought. We really saw how they had to struggle as they followed their dreams, and the fact that it wasn't easy is what made me get into the show so much. I actually think this is the most underrated show of the year, and it's one that I'm really glad I didn't overlook. It may not be anything groundbreaking, but it really is what a moe slice of life should do. It has comedy, it has drama, it has characters I care about, and it's probably my favorite slice of life I've seen. Next, we have Black Butler, Book of Murder. I have been a fan of the Black Butler franchise for quite a while. In fact, I think it was the first non-shonen I saw, and after being so impressed by Book of Circus, I was really excited to see more of the story. This time we got 2-hour-long OVAs, which drive the story forward by means of a murder mystery at the Phantom Hive Manor. Some of the plot twists were predictable if you know the characters, but still is a fascinating story seeing how the mystery unfolded, and while it was tied up nicely here, it still drove the overall story of the franchise forward, and I eagerly wait for them to make more. In fact, it looks like they've announced a movie of some type, so I don't know if that'll be the next arc or what, but whatever the case, I look forward to more of this series, however they do it, OVAs, a series, a movie. So yeah, Black Butler, still awesome, go check it out. And coming in at number 1, we have Parasyte. Compared to everything else that came out this year, it really wasn't hard to pick this to be number 1. Well, I did momentarily consider Arslan or Assassination Classroom better, but that was like right after finishing them. But yeah, Parasyte easily wins out. The premise itself isn't completely original. You have these parasites who take over people's body. These parasites need to eat other humans to stay alive. And with the twist that the main character had only his arm taken over by the parasite, so he is like somewhere between parasite and human. And this means that he maintains his humanity and must fight the evil parasites with the parasite that's in his arm. Where the show excels is how it's able to handle its suspense, creating the most gripping story of the year. It also offers some of the best character development that I've seen in a while, with Shinichi growing from having the parasite within him and the parasite Miki becoming almost human throughout the story. It also explores a lot of themes about what it means to be human, and this gives it a lot of substance. It also handles the action well despite most of the battles being quite short. These characters are fighting to the death, so it's only natural to want to end battles quickly. It's not perfect, of course. Like everything else I've talked about, it has its share of problems, such as some plot conveniences early on, and the ending was also somewhat unsatisfying. There are side characters that were lacking, and then there are some questions I never felt were properly answered. But compared to what the show did right, these are pretty minor issues. So if you haven't seen Parasyte, especially if you're a fan of action and suspense stories like I am, you really should go fix that. And that concludes my list. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and maybe agreed, disagree, whatever. If you do, one of those two, put them in the comments below and I will read them and respond, or maybe just think you're crazy and ignore it. One of those two. Anyway, talk to you later.